Hey guys, wanted to come here today and I wanted to talk to you about your plan. Do you have a plan? If you don't have a plan, you're probably not gonna make it. Okay, you have to know if you're planning on bugging in. Okay, what's your plan for security around your home? What's your plan for your food, your water, heat, bugs, pests, rats, neighborhood dogs that are hungry because the people's turn them loose? There's got to be a plan. No, don't get into the, barbecue thing with the loose pets in the neighborhood. That's not something I'm going to get into. But you got to have a plan. Okay. First of all, like, I can only really kind of go over what my plan would be. Your plan will be different. Your plan involves you, your location, your circumstances, your physical fitness, your everything. Okay. Do you have a plan? You got to have a plan, because if you don't have a plan, like I said, you're probably not going to survive. My plan is, depending on the situation, mind you, my plan is to stay here if I can. Okay. This is, you want to stay home if you can. It's not always the best option. It might not be an option. Like people with Katrina, the people down there got hit down in Houston area with that big, huge storm. It was 6 foot of water in their stuff. Staying home might not be a plan that you can do. All right. But you got to have a plan, right? So I had one lady that I was talking to online that was commenting on a video. She said, I'm not leaving. I'm a fortress here, blah, blah. Well, you know what? If a tornado came along and took your fortress, what would you do? Unless you're an underground bunker like Cheyenne Mountain or something, chances are, there is nothing foolproof. Okay. There is no foolproof plan. There is no foolproof location. There is no foolproof city. Now, there's a place called GSM News, and I believe it was them, that had on their website, gsmnews.com, I think it was, it had relocation information, maps, and things like that. It showed traditionally, because they're talking about the Grand Solar Minimum or minimum ice age, mini ice age. They had maps where traditionally over the last 20 years where most of the volcanoes popped off. And with the Grand Solar Minimum, more earthquakes and tornadoes and hailstorms and volcanoes go off a lot more, which means that we really have to watch Yellowstone now. But I'm not, that's not something I can really worry about. There's some things that are too big to worry about. Okay. If you're really worried about Yellowstone, make sure you're at least 500 miles away and a way to bug out from there. But that's something that's so huge that it's really hard to plan for. Okay. So you can't really necessarily clear out an entire section of the country on a maybe, and people wouldn't go for that anyway. Now, those people are most likely going to die if it goes off. Oh yeah, they will. Most people don't worry about it. Give it to God, whatever you want to call it. I call it fatalism. Right? If you say, well, it's going to happen, what's going to happen is going to happen. That's fatalism. Right? A lot of fatalists will die in an SHTF situation because it's going to happen. I'm not going to worry about it. Well, there's a lot of things that you can survive that if you just did this much preparation, you would be able to. So do you have a plan? Okay. My plan, like I said, is to stay here if I can. I have an inch bag. I actually ordered a 85-liter hiking backpack to make into my inch bag. It'll be here whenever it gets here. And at that point, I'm redoing my inch bag, and I will pack it and load it out and see how heavy it is. And it's probably gonna be too heavy because I'm kind of a pack rat that way. But I want to get it all completely packed up together, because my bug out bag over there that I had, it was all I had. And I'm always a proponent of using what you had. My son bought me this hiking backpack. It cost $50 shipped. It's a China knockoff. It may not be a good enough bag. Okay. It might be okay. Might be just fine, but it might not be. So we're going to see when it gets here as to what kind of quality it is. I'll be able to use it no matter what. Even if all the zippers break, I can sew them up, right? As long as the basic pack construction is good enough where it'll hold together, then I could use it, even if I have to go back and sew it back together. But we'll see when it gets here, and I'll show it to you when it gets here too. So that's one of my plans, and that's my plan. Do you have a plan for an inch bag? You have you have a kit in your car, okay? If you know, I'm a proponent. Put your inch bag in the trunk of your car. But now in real hot climates, especially, things in there like food, candles, anything like that might be adversely affected with the heat. You might have to have a kit that you throw in your passenger seat that's got those items in it that you don't want to leave out in your car when it's 100 degrees outside. Okay, you might want to put all that stuff in a little tiny pack and just carry it in with you to work. Okay, I'm kind of disabled up, and I got 5 or 6 discs in my back and neck that are blown out, so I don't work. So I don't have to worry about it necessarily in the trunk of my car. I can have it next to the door. But everybody's plans and situations are different. You have to look at your own. Do you have a plan for medication in an SHTF situation? Are you a diabetic? Are you on blood pressure medication? Are you on something for bipolar or PTSD or schizophrenia or mega arthritis, lupus, whatever? Do you have a plan for your medications? Right, there's a lot of options for that, believe it or not, even if you're diabetic, okay, and you have to take insulin every day. There are options for that. Don't give up, say, I'm diabetic and I'm going to just die. Well, not necessarily, at least not right away, and who wants to die right away, right? You can get a solar panel kit, a charge controller, and a couple of lithium or deep cycle batteries, and one of those little 12-volt compressor fridges to keep your insulin in. Okay, the sun will keep your stuff cold for you. There are options. You can get, a lot of people get prescribed their medication and they don't use it all in 30 days. Okay, they don't use it all in 3 months. A lot of that stuff can be delivered directly to your door 3 or 6 months at a time. Check in on that, because you might be able to get it mailed directly to you in larger bulk quantities, especially on long-term medications like diabetic medications or heart medications. You might be able to get longer, bigger prescriptions for that. Ask your doctor, okay? Like I'm supposed to take lisinopril for my blood pressure. I'm out. I've been out for a month. Am I dead? No. Is it a risk? Yeah, it's a risk. There are things that you can use that are natural for things like high blood pressure. Just have to Google it. I Googled it. I'd say that 3 times so fast. I Googled it and came up with mistletoe. Okay, that was just one of them, just off the top of my head. Don't take my advice. I'm not a doctor, but mistletoe can lower blood pressure depending on how it's processed and done. I don't think you can use the berries. I think that's a toxic, but the rest you can dry and powder and different things. Just look it all up for yourself. There are a lot of good books out there on natural medications. There's a guy on YouTube that's he has a survival medical handbook, okay, that goes through things just like what I'm talking about, okay, with the medications and things post SHTF, what can be used and different things. He's an actual doctor and his wife's a nurse, so it's not like they're just some talking head saying, oh, you can do this. Don't take my word for it. Go look it up for yourself. For bipolar disorder and PTSD and stuff, there's not a whole lot I can help you with that, because I don't know how to fix something like that. But there are natural medications that help with that. Of course, being out in the fresh air and moving, that's also going to help with that. If you have to bug out and you're up in the woods and you're not around all the triggers, okay, might help with the PTSD too, so you might not have as big of an issue. There's a lot of things you can do. You just have to look them up. Don't have the fatalist attitude that, oh, I'm just going to die. Now, if you're on dialysis every week, I don't know what to tell you. I don't. Something that's that severe, you might have a problem, okay? But what about the members in your family that are with you? Prep for them, okay? If you are in a wheelchair and you are quadriplegic, I don't know how I would be able to help you with your preps. you know, you're going to have to rely on family, really. For those of you that have the smaller issues, not that diabetes is small, but you can at least stockpile for that, okay? At least to a certain point. And, you know, that's a plan. Do you have a plan for that? Because you should. Any other type of stuff you can plan for. You can plan for foot problems, skin problems, hair problems, lice, roaches, rats, snakes, mosquitoes, all that kind of stuff. Now, you got to understand, a lot of those things can carry disease, okay? Do you have a plan for your quarantine kit, for your disease kit, for your pandemic kit? Do you have face masks? Okay, everybody says N95. Well, I'm going to suggest you get N100, okay, because it does a lot better job. Do you have a gas mask? Now, some people with major breathing issues probably can't use a gas mask because it takes a little bit more effort to draw in air. And, of course, you have to worry about the cartridges going out and stale dating and not being effective anymore, or being used up. So you might have to prep a few extra one of those and, like, vacuum seal them to keep them as fresh as possible. You might have to learn to make your own. You might be able to make your own gas mask filter. There's plenty of resources out there you can learn how to do that. You can make your own gas mask in like 15 minutes. Okay. Do you have a plan for a pandemic? Do you have a plan for a grid down? Okay. Do you have any kind of way to power whatever device you think that you need? Now, that changes person to person. People say, I need to keep my cell phone charged. Well, in a grid down, EMP type thing, no cell phones. Just whatever information or pictures you have on your cell phone you might want to keep, because those are memories. And when the grid finally does come back up, and it will eventually, you'll want to be able to at least have those. Put your stuff on thumb drives. They take up little to no room. Put them in a little, you know, waterproof case if you're worried about that. All your pictures and important documents, things like that. Do you have a plan for your important documents? Do you have where you can seal them up to keep them waterproof and keep them protected so that they don't get ruined? And after the grid comes back up, can you prove you are who you are? Okay, birth certificate, things of that nature. You got to have a plan for that. Do you have a plan to be able to grow your own food? Do you have a plan, you know, with your heirloom seeds? I have some heirloom seeds. Do I have enough? No, I don't think I do, because I'll show you here. I mean, I planted my container garden. That's in one of my videos. I had to replant most of it because I planted it too early and the cold weather killed the baby little plants. Okay, so I've replanted. Now they're resprouting. Do you have plans in case your harvest or your stuff gets messed up? Okay, if you're gardening and trying to grow your own food, do you have extra seeds? Do you have a plan for that? Do you have a plan for cold weather? Okay, if a mini ice age comes and you're living up close to the 45th parallel, do you have a plan for that? Do you have clothes for that? Do you have a way to heat your home? Do you have a way to protect your dog? Okay, do you have a way to protect your hands, your feet, your children? You got to have a plan for that, okay? Because I can guarantee you, if a mini ice age does hit, coats are going to be hard to find. Right now, they're easy to find. You can go down to Burlington Coat Factory and you can buy them. I don't like their prices. But you can go down to Goodwill and find coats. You can go online to Craigslist and find coats. You can go to swap meets and find coats. You can go to yard sales. You can go to Walmart. You can go to anywhere and buy them online, whatever. You can buy stuff in military surplus. Buy your cold weather gear now. Now, if you have kids, it's going to be a little harder because they grow, right? You know, what fits him now might not fit him next year. So you might want to buy several different sizes, okay? So that he has something to grow into, or she has something to grow into. You know, you're going to want to get some good quality gear for your outerwear. Do you have rain protection? Do you have a plan for keep him from getting wet? Do you have a plan for if you have to bug out, what are you going to put over your head to keep from getting wet? Are you going to have a tarp? You're going to have a tent? You're going to have both? What kind of plan do you have? Sit down and write it all down, okay? Write it down a list. Put the different kits that you can think of. Watch YouTube videos to give you more ideas. I do that a lot. Do you have a plan? You got to have a plan. And if you don't have a plan, now's the time to start. Really. Seriously. With all the food shortages, you're worldwide, and all the crops failing nationwide and worldwide, you're going to have a food plan. If you don't have a plan, you need to start now, because it's fixing to start getting pretty expensive. Food will go way up. At that point, you may have to sacrifice things like internet, cell phones, extra fitness gym memberships. You might have to give up things in order to afford food. People in Venezuela are hungry, okay? Everybody's talking about the power, but they're hungry too. Those people didn't have a lot of food. The government would only allow them to buy so much food. Before this even happened, they were allowed so much food. I think it was per person in the house. They were tyrannical about it. And unless you grew your own, you didn't get extra. And you were only allowed to buy certain things too. You know, they totally controlled that. Do you have a plan for your food? I'm working on a plan right now. Okay. I'm ordering 1 case of long-term food storage every payday. My son said he would pay for that. I'm getting them from the LDS cannery. It's $25 to on up on the cost of the cases. It's 6 number 10 cans in a case. Get a case of flour, a case of oatmeal, a case of rice, a case of macaroni, a case of milk, which was like $62 for a case of milk. But those were in the pouches. But they're still long-term. Okay. There's all kinds of things you can do to prep. I've got a dehydrator. I'm taking and buying a few extra fresh vegetables every time I go shopping, and I'm dehydrating them. Cabbage, carrots, green beans, mushrooms, corn, peas, fruit. Okay, you got blueberries, oranges, lemons, things of that nature. Dehydrate all that stuff. Keep that sucker going. Yeah, it doesn't weigh anything hardly. It's super cheap right now, especially if you've got a farmer's market. Go down there and get a good deal on it. A lot of places you can get, in California, I used to buy, it was a huge pallet-sized box. It was like 3 foot tall by 4 foot by 4 foot. And it was full of broken carrots. Okay. I would feed those to the horses by the shovelful. They loved them. But they weren't good enough to ship. They weren't good enough to sell on a vendor's street corner. You know, you half a carrot. Well, cut the end off. You still got a good carrot. Peel it and voila. Okay. Think outside the box. Always think outside the box. What can I do with that item that will help affect my survival? You have to look at that, because you have to have a plan for that. Do you have a plan for your sleeping arrangements? Okay. If you have to bug out, do you have a good bag? Do you have a way to keep that bag dry? Do you have a way to keep that bag up off the ground so that you don't get conductive heat loss, especially in cold weather? Do you have a sleeping pad? Do you have at least a good ground sheet where you can pile some leaves, boughs, twigs, whatever on it? Do you have a plan for insect bites? Okay. Because if you're using natural materials for your bedding, you're liable to end up sleeping with spiders and bugs. Okay. Do you have something you can put that in? Maybe one of those survival sleeping bags that are super thick mill. Maybe you can put the stuff in that and then lay on top of that. But you got to have a plan for that. You got to at least think about it. What are you going to sleep on? You're going to sleep on rocks and hard dirt? You're not going to get a very good night's sleep. And if you don't have good sleep, you're not going to make good decisions. So you have to have a plan for that. Do you have a plan to take care of your feet? Because without your feet and your hands, you're done. Okay. Do you have a plan to keep your feet from getting frostbite, from getting big blisters, from getting cuts? Make sure there's moleskin in your bag. Make sure there's duct tape in your bag, because you can use that too. You can even line the inside of your boot with the duct tape if it's got a rough spot. Okay. You don't have to line your foot. You can put it on the inside of your of your footwear itself. And it might not last forever, but it'll last for a while. You'll eventually build up calluses where you would get blisters if your shoes don't fit right. But the best bet is to have a plan to get some good footwear. Buy once, cry once. Sometimes you got to jump up and buy the good stuff. Whereas other times you can get by with garage sale finds. Okay. You'll have to balance that out in your mind. Do you have a plan for that? Because you got to have a plan for your feet. Do you have a barter kit? Okay. Like with me, I've got that colloidal silver kit. That's one item I could do some bartering with. Do you have some extra bullets? Even if you don't have a gun, okay? Buy some boxes of 22 bullets and put them back. They don't go bad. Just put them in a Ziploc bag and keep them dry. You know, that's going to be something that's highly barterable in an SHTF situation because people are going to want that. But do be careful if you trade them bullets that they don't put them in the gun and shoot you too. You know, that's something, that's a whole other security issue. So, but you got to have a plan for bartering. Do you have food for your kit? Do you have a way to procure food, grow food? You got to have, like I said, you have to have a plan for that. You have a plan for your pets. If you're bugging in and you've got 2 cats and a parrot and a dog, do you have a plan to keep those guys alive? Because do you really want to kill them? Do you really want to just turn them loose and let other people eat them? You know, you got to have a plan for that. Stockpile some food. Figure out some way, if you're going to keep them, okay? If that's what you intend to do. Personally, I would suggest that, you know, you get rid of 90% of your pets. Who needs pet fish unless you're going to eat the fish in an SHTF situation? Who needs pet fish, right? If you have a pet bird, well, that's great. But what good is that bird going to do you in an SHTF situation and you've got 1 pound of bird seed? You can turn the bird loose, wild birds will kill it, okay? Your cats. Cats can turn feral pretty quick. Okay, cats are pretty good at learning self-sufficiency. If you've got them declawed, not so much. So you have to have a plan for that cat you've got declawed, okay? Spay your pets, okay? If in an SHTF situation and you have to bug out and you've got a cat with 12 kittens, what are you going to do? Spay your pets. Have a plan for that because you don't want to have to worry about that. And you can bet that cat ain't coming with you or that dog ain't coming with you and leaving those puppies or kittens. So you'll have to carry them with you. Now, you know, if a dog has 9 puppies, what are you going to do with 9 puppies, especially if they're like 3 weeks old and they're this big? You going to carry them in your arms? No, you got to have a plan for that. Spay your pet. Neuter your pet. There's all kinds of things that you need to plan for. And you need to sit down and start making a list. Just look around your home. Okay? Look around your home and say, okay, I've got this, 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 and this. I don't have this, 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 and this. Do I want this, 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 or this? Okay? You're going to have to be able to plan for pretty much as many contingencies as you can plan for. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a contingency planner. Okay? That's what preppers do. We plan for contingencies. Okay? Do you have a plan to meet up with your loved ones? Do you have a plan to get your kids from school if things go bad? Do you have a plan to meet up with family members at a bug out location or a bug out retreat? Okay, what's your plan? Make a plan. Get your plans, write them down. Okay, you've got to be able to look at this sometimes in hard copy, you know, so that you know what to do, what you forgot, where you needed to go, what you need to prepare for. All right, I'm going to quit harping on the plan thing, but you got to have a plan. So, do you have one? Like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends. Check out my links down below for an EMP shield unit, and y'all come back and see me.